our max levy is roughly 10.6% of our certified net assessed value. Our net assessed value right now is $552 million between the three entities. That was the estimated 2025. I didn't really look at it to make sure that that was the exact amount, but that was predicted by Baker Tilly that our certified assessed net value was gonna be $552 million.
So what's 10% of that then, so?
Say 5 million-ish. Now, there's three things that affect that. There's probably more than three, but for this conversation, TIF districts, because again, the certified net assessed value is on the improved property at the 3% rate, not at the 2% rate that we're actually getting that money at, all right? Abatements plan is because abatements are on real property and personal property, right? So we're talking land and stuff, specifically for Amazon, because Amazon has all that technology that's going into the building, they're also being taxed on that piece as well. And new taxing units, and why that's important is because we saw the establishment of St. Joe County Fire Territory. That affects the overall in St. Joe County, but if somebody in LaPorte County was to also create another fire territory, that it's very minimal impact, but it does impact in the grand scheme of it. So.
Probably because it come out of, because Hudson's in Lake County.
Yep.
A piece of it.
Yep. So, there's other things like circuit breaker, all that stuff affects what we're actually receiving of that 10.6%. And it's not really important. The important piece is that our budget is $2.995 million. And we grow it every year by whatever the state allows us to grow it at. Full stop. We don't know what that's gonna be because with what's going on in the state government now, they haven't decided how it's gonna affect us. We could see a 5 to 7% reduction in the receivables in 2027 based on what's going in Senate Bill 1 right now. So I really can't give you a good answer on that. But what I can tell you, as our certified net assessed value goes up, our max levy stays at that 10.6, right? So we have three options for sustainability, and I guess that's the bigger question that you guys are asking. Number one, and third, and my least favorite of these options is you could say Wills Township wanted to be back in the territory. That resets our budget, it resets our, and again, I'm not saying that, you know, I wanna be full stop, that is not happening or whatever. I'm just bringing them up as an example because that was a discussion at one point. If Wills Township wanted in, you reset your max levy, you reset your budget, and then you can sustain those additions as needed, right? The problem is.
Just adding Wills to it would bring that much money in?
It resets it.
It resets it.
When
Where
Hudson
we
came
could
in, they
increase.
reset it for us.
We could increase what our budget is, because right now we're capped at increasing our budget by what the state allows us to, whether that may be 3%, 5%, usually it's somewhere in between 3 and 5%.
When some new entity comes in, then you can reset it.
You can reset the whole thing, and we could take our budget, I'm just throwing this out there, from 3 million to 4 million, right? But the taxpayer, it's gonna pull more from the other entities of the county.
County entities, not your residents, because your residents are still bound by the 1, 2, 3% based on the Constitution anyhow.
Could affect businesses.
Could affect businesses, could affect industry, could affect lots. Now, what I wanna say is, why that's my least favorite is number one, to talk about Wills again, you have a community that maybe doesn't want it, right? And so now you've already started a relationship very badly. That you have residents, you have a government that voted this thing in, the residents maybe not want it, so let's make sure that it's the right relationship. Well, we had lunch again with the chief next door, and he's all for it. The problem is.
Warren?
Yes.
Okay.
It becomes, the authority of this board, or the input of this board, when you become a part of a bigger, it becomes less, right? You become one voice out of how many different areas, so you may lose collective control. That's a downside. Trusting your partners is a big thing. And I'm not saying that we don't trust our neighbors, but that relationship isn't there. So collectively, to come to this board and say, oh, we should really do this, is I believe irresponsible. Part three of that is you only have, in consolidation, 3 to 5 years to set your budget rate. It used to be 3, I think they changed it to 5, I don't wanna be quoted on that, I'm just saying, you have a finite amount of time to set your budget. Well, a lot of stuff can happen in that 3 to 5 years, right? So, if you don't get it right, or you shoot through the moon, and it gets back down, then you're stuck, and it doesn't become sustainable. So then you're like, well, now we need to pad this a little bit, and that's not good for taxpayers. It's not good for taxpayers for you to pad your budget. You need to spend what you need, and not more, not, you know what I mean? It just, you need to be responsible in it. So that's an option, just currently, I don't think that that's a good option. I think that the way we're going, so, option one, we have our max levy. Our max levy, we found out last year, we could have filed for an appeal. Now, if we, as a group, decide that we wanna file for an appeal, that doesn't mean we're gonna be taking more money in. It allows us to take more money in when it comes time to do it. So when the station comes online, or we add these trucks and we need to add units, it's not a whole lot, but I can tell you 0.05% of that's about $270,000. It's not what we need to do, but if you can grow that responsibly, the time when it comes time, we can say, okay, now we need a budget increase to match our max levy, so let's pull the trigger because we need these people. So it's not coming back on our taxpayers to answer it is, but it's coming in on the new taxpayers, meaning the industry, who would end up bearing the brunt of that increase. So there is an option, it's not unsustainable, we just have to be smart and keep out in front of it, so we don't become overwhelmed. Say, we're gonna build a station and now we don't have a plan. The problem is I've not put a lot of effort into it, because until the local tax issues are resolved, and we know, we're just kinda, spinning in the wind, right?
So the county's plan then is to try to figure out some way for us to pay for it, is what it sounds like then. those
So
three
you say
options.
us, but these are our new taxpayers, so it's not us currently, it's at the us that's gonna be. And so, whether it be new homes, or new developments, or whatever, those are all taxpayers that we're gonna have to provide service for. Whether the county puts it on or not, that's here. So we will be responsible for taking care of them, it's just how this board, and we lay it out, how we're gonna address that.
So is another option to have a developer fee that when they build a house, that they give 15% of the value up front?
You could do that.
That's what
There's-
they do out in the east, and it's coming this way.
Yeah, and I would say there's lots of options on, number one, residential TIF is gonna be a real big thing coming this way.
Oh,
And we don't quite, we have a lot to learn, but we're gonna have to lean on Baker Tilly, our accountants, to get us through some of that. And we're kinda waiting for this first new residential / commercial piece to start understanding better how we capture money from that, and how we can provide service based on that, and I don't quite understand it.
And with
Yeah.
any new tips, that would be in our area, one thing that we would try to carve out is, an exemption for the fire territory. So, and let's say if the town did the same thing, if they annexed an area and a developer came in and put in a development and did a residential TIF, you can put a stipulation on there that, the TIF doesn't affect the police department, right? That you would still pull, I don't know if you pull funds from the TIF, from those
Depending on-
TIF funds. to
Depending on the
go in.
development, if it's
Right,
industrial, you could
or
get the
police.
3% of the improved value, and that would be a huge.
Right,
But just for the fire protection
Right.
piece, they would still,
The TIF would pay for the sewers and
Yeah.
stuff.
right.
Okay,
So
well,
my big thing is, I'm not gonna sign off on anything that's gonna, increase taxes. And I've told the county, I've told Joe, and I think even, Carl, just that, hey, we're doing fine where we are, and if we need to stay that way, we will be able to cover our folks, and then it's kind of up to you guys to figure out how to cover the IEC area.
Yeah, it is.
We are willing and we're capable of doing that, as far as like the knowledge that we have, and we can bring on the manpower to do it, but we can't afford to do the station and the apparatus, you know, we can't fund all of that, we don't have the funding for that. And to put that on the backs of the taxpayers is just unfair.
We can't afford to
And so-
sustain it. you
And
know, once
it
it's
really, as far as like I feel that Josh and Chad can get the manpower here. As far as funding the manpower, currently, we couldn't do that. And so the goal is to not only, in my eyes, not only to have the county pay for the fire station and the apparatus, but to also help with either paying things off, or maybe we naturally pay things off that loosens up, that frees up the budget for
Oh, yeah.
manpower. And so I guess that's my idea, but Josh and Chad.
He's
are
right.
in the
we-
weeds on that.
The way we're currently paying for trucks and equipment is through these lease options, which are good. But if we need to hire people and free up money within the budget, and the station is another example, if we pay those loans off early, and again, I'm not advocating for that right now, with cash reserves, it would free up the money that we would need to hire more people. So again, there's options there, we have options, and to your point is if I didn't think that, I wouldn't be pursuing this if I didn't think it was sustainable. And I'm never gonna ask you, that's my promise to you. If we can do this without raising taxes, that's my number one option, because our current taxpayers don't need to, you know, be beholden to this thing that they didn't ask for.
Okay, well, that's something we all have to be vigilant on for the next 3 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Is to make them understand, the county and the business people too, and the IEC, the industrial people, that, you know, this is not gonna be on our backs when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and ultimately, the folks in this room do have that power, right? I mean, you have to say, if we're gonna increase something that's gonna affect the taxpayers, you guys have to sign off on it. In town, you guys have to sign off on it, and the township has to sign off on it. And then at the end, I have to sign off on it, and you guys know where I stand on it, so y'all can vote for it, but if I don't sign off on it,
Yeah.
good.
Right.
Collective effort.
I'm sure there's a
So I-
workaround to get around me about just being a button,
Yeah.
but ultimately, you know, there's a lot of layers of protection there for the taxpayers that. as
Just
far as
so
I
they
know-
understand,
as far
cause
as
they
I know.
need time to put their plan together too, so if
Who's that?
the county, so if they're just
Yeah.
thinking, oh, hell, New Plow and Hudson Lake can just pay for this, so we gotta get that idea out of their head.
No, I
They
don't-
need 3 years to be thinking of ideas on how they're gonna
Yeah.
fund it.
No, I feel that,
Are they aware?
I've.
When I go
I've
golfing
run
at
that.
Joe's place there, I'll, I
Yeah,
know all the
you
time.
could add, I mean, I would be surprised if he didn't,
I'll see what his reaction is.
yeah, I would be surprised if he didn't react of knowledge of, yes,
Yeah, okay.
we need to step up, and,
Okay.
I feel that I don't know if they currently have the funds, but I feel like they will. And I don't know how they're gonna do that, whether it's by bonds or, you know, I don't know. I know they have a lot to pay for with the infrastructure and everything that's going in there now, so I'm not naive to that,
And
thinking that
I-
they're just banking all
the
this
one thing
money
that
and being stingy
I'll-
about it, but.
You know, go on with that is that San Joe County's done a very good job of studying things, planning them, and then doing them. So I don't believe that they would ever put us in this position, that at some point, if they're not gonna do it, they're gonna tell us no. And I wholeheartedly believe that, I don't believe that's gonna happen, but they are very well aware of their responsibilities, to the taxpayers. And all the feedback that I've gotten from them is they are working on it. It doesn't give us an answer right now, it doesn't give us a path right now, but I do believe that they will do right by the communities, because they know that it's affecting us.
So Hudson, are we good with our answer here? Is there any other questions you guys had?
I didn't derail you too much, I apologize.
No, you're good. I mean, I still need to understand
Yeah.
difference between tax abatement and TIF, but I don't need to let the meeting go too much longer than that piece, I suppose. guess for me, so we are still getting tax income from the resources out there that are going in. What is the TIF district really doing then? If we're still getting tax income, what is it, what's the commission, is their interest in getting more and more companies out here, so it's feeding back, or?
So it's really back to Will's point, is improving the infrastructure. What they're doing is they're, taking that improved value, and like one of the project is, well, it's self-serving project, but is improving the water plants for the town. They're paying for a new water tower, and those projects are infrastructure projects that are, can be a result of the tax money they're collecting from the TIF districts. So, road projects, I assume that they're gonna put some money into that interchange, they're gonna partner with the state, I believe, I don't know the exact layout, but.
And it's also my understanding, so correct me if I'm wrong, that there's really no end date to the TIF district, is that correct?
No, that's, I think it's a
25 years.
Usually like 20.
Is it, okay, so
I
that's.
think
And they're all in varying states of, I say
Yeah.
decay, but.
Now they could let's see.
Reestablish it.
Reestablish that, extend it.
At the county level?
Yeah.
Right, they could.
So really, there's no end date,
Correct.
there's really no end date.
I mean, the
So-
short answer is they're gonna need it, they're gonna keep it as long as they need it. Now, I do know that they can end them early as well, and I think they were in the process of ending, I can't remember, and I don't wanna misspeak, but if there's no more value to keep it alive, they have the ability to end it early.
Did Ian Tech ever end?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Ian Tech, so, I mean, there is, can be a good side to all this industry stuff. I mean, Ian Tech, they pay what, 60%
What?
of the town? I think that's what they stated at
The
the
town's
meeting.
budget?
Yeah,
Comes through, it's like, wow.
it's a lot of police and things like that.
Well, and that's just it, is
So, but just one
when they
factor.
come
but-
online and then they're supporting this, and then we have that additional station, those additional people, it's you all as residents that are benefiting from that with runs too. I mean, if you're having a heart attack and we're already on a run, you're gonna have.
Not because I'm the oldest guy here.
You're gonna
also,
have
I'm
another
having a heart
company
attack.
instead of
I'm in
Ward
better
Township
shape than some of
coming
you
from
guys.
Quince Road, you know?
Yeah, and I,
It's a benefit to them.
Yeah, no, it is, yeah, I mean, that's a shorter run, we have, I mean, a fire station out there is closer to some of the township people, obviously.
and again, we don't know how the southern piece will develop, because if the southern piece develops, you're already further down, because right now our response times from here to the southern pieces of our area are longer than we would like them. And then, you know, you get up north to the northwest corner, and again, it's still a little bit of a drive for us to get there. So, you know, it's one of those things can expand, and I try to keep it in context of age, right? You know, we all sit here and we're all in various ages, parts of our lives. But I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get to see this and that, and I realize, well, you're not gonna get that done in 15 years or so. So, you know, you put an expiration date on it, but I think this board does a great job of trying to predict that future and making sure that we're not setting something up for failure.
That's where I'm at with it,
Yeah.
I think everybody is, so.
Concern, yeah.
Keith, you good with what we know about it now?
Yeah.
Or is there any other questions?
There's way more to get into, and I
Yeah.
think that we need to refine that piece.
Would Baker Tilly be the person to ask the accounting question on what are we actually gonna be receiving from, as things sit now?
Yes.
Could we ask them what is the budget that will be coming from that TIF district?
Yeah, and I think we probably, maybe what I can do is compile some questions for them and then bring it back to the group before I give it to them, to make sure that I'm getting everything we wanna get. But again, we're gonna have to wait till Senate Bill 1's resolved.
Do they do accounting for us? Baker Tilly does,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Well, they come to our
Yeah,
meetings.
we could even ask them
They would
to have
come
a
in.
work session to explain this all, and in fact, I think we should,
Mhm.
before we would agree to anything as far as like, we have to see a whole plan of the new station and then the cost, you know, for manpower, and then long-term, maintenance and operation and maintenance and
Does that
and
exist?
everything.
Well,
The cost of it, I mean, they did a study, do we have all that, or
Oh,
is
no.
that available? They don't?
No.
Oh,
So
just
we're,
in everybody's hands right now?
we really haven't made any progress, you know, that BOT thing, that's just kinda sitting. So we're just
Speaking of which, can you explain that again to me, the DOT that we signed? So,
That, all that was, is
Okay.
it gives Olive Township the ability to use that as a construction method. The builder builds it,
Build,
They-
operate.
they technically operate it, and then they transfer ownership to us, for the agreed upon price.
so you decide, Olive Township decides who gets
On
the
the
construction
builder.
job for the fire station, is that what you're saying?
We haven't
Theoretically,
fully worked that out yet. because
This
the
board has
counties-
got to recommend it.
Yes,
Yeah, the board has to recommend it.
there would be
but-
proposals and all that stuff that flows through here, you recommend it to Olive Township as the provider unit, and then they
Okay.
adopt whoever that would be.
And it may also, that may also rest in the lap of the county, so.
Yes.
Mhm.
The county may say, we're paying for it, we're gonna, we're gonna fund it, we're gonna do everything with it, and then we will transfer that over to you or whatever. They may want to have control over the, construction of that, and then either transfer it over, or maybe they keep possession and it's, we use it. I don't know, we don't know that
Yeah.
yet.
And you'll be talking like in 25 years, them transferred to us. Because it won't be paid for.
I don't even really
We
know,
don't even know.
I don't even know how to put a time on that.
Well, but I
It
mean,
may be.
it's a long term.
Right, but, then,
Yeah.
then it comes to, does the county really want to, operate a fire station, right, before they transfer?
As long as the money's coming out of the TIF to pay for it, that would make sense to me.
Yeah.
But
I don't
then when a maintenance issue comes up, who's responsible? And they probably don't wanna deal with that, so they would transfer it right. Yeah, there's a lot to work out.
It would come sooner than later, because we have, how many fire trucks outside of the brush? That,
Be total, outside the brush would be 3 additional.
right, so 3 trucks plus a brush truck. Brush truck, we need to make a decision by the end of the year, right?
Probably September, October.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of.
And then the other 3, we need to make a decision in like 2 years?
It'll be 2 years beyond that.
Right, so 2.5 years, we have that time to pull out.
Mhm.
And so if we don't see, the brush truck, I think that we could handle if we needed to.
Yeah, the brush truck that's an easy
Yeah,
purchase.
but the other 3 there's no way that we could handle those if the county's not gonna pay for them. And if the county pays for them, it's great, we have all these trucks, but where are we gonna put them? You can't just have them sitting outside, plugged in, running 24/7. We did that during construction and it was a mess. And so we have to get something figured out, because within 4 years, we're looking at having 4 additional trucks plus, basically 4 additional trucks.
It's a lot of extra maintenance and, everything on too. you know.
Right.
Is that an ambulance, new ambulance going up there too?
No, we don't have
We have a new
another.
ambulance.
No, I mean, to put an ambulance out there?
Their problem, well, we have to evaluate that, but it is, if I had to say today, I would say yes.
But, so the county's gonna have to make a decision soon, because we need a place to house those
Right.
trucks. If we don't have a decision made by the time that the time comes up to sign for those, then we're pulling out. So, because I can't be on the hook for that. That's basically where it comes down to, is
Right.
I'm the one who signed for those things, and so.
Sure.
So I'm keeping tabs on it, because if that time comes and I'm
We'll
pulling out.
visit you in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, thank you.
If I may, so we have an opportunity to pull out of the trucks, but we need to start the building before those 2 years are up, right? And
Oh,
there's
yeah,
no-
that process
no way to
needs,
pull out.
it's, we're getting into some critical timing right now.
And there's no way to pull out of that once we recommend a builder, we're signed on for the lot, so we better be signed on for the trucks then.
Yeah.
We need to be putting the pressure on the county for this, cause we'll just say, you know what, we don't really care about you.
And that's the stance that I've taken.
Yeah.
It's like, we're doing pretty good right here.
Yeah.
You guys-
Worst case, and Josh
Thank
hates it when I say this. What's that going?
Sorry?
What's that going?
It's going on to YouTube.
Okay. So just know that it's.
YouTube's a big deal there, in case you didn't know.
bleep it.
Be
No,
careful.
I can't. No editing.
Just know that, that yes, we're not, we're keeping a close eye so that we're not put in a bad situation, so.
Which
And
I
I don't,
think-
I truly don't think, I'm not saying this just because that's the only thing. I truly don't feel that the county wants to see us in a bad spot. They wanna see us succeed as well.
But they wanna do it right, and so like I said, they do a very good job of planning.
Yeah, they do a lot.
And so I think that it's taking some extra time and, you guys may not know, I'm not the most patient person in the world, but I do have some optimism that they're gonna do the right thing, so.
Has anything changed? Are we still planning on next year or by the end of this year ordering 3 more trucks or is?
So we're just letting that ride as long as we can.
Okay.
That is part of that plan, right, and it's part of that process. But, you know, the committees are always engaged. We don't have to do a lot of changes because a couple of those trucks are the same. So literally, you know, if we were to get to go ahead and be like, yes, we need to do this now. There is some time sensitivity because we don't know what, again, if aluminum is tariffed and that, those trucks are mostly aluminum. So we do need to be sensitive of that, but I would say that we're keeping that on our radar to make sure that, because at this point, we're locked in the pricing, so we don't have to worry about it.
So you have signed to order them? I guess
Three
it's-
trucks or
There's
one?
four,
Okay.
and that includes the brush truck.
Yeah.
So you've signed a contract to order them, but, the brush truck, you have to make up your mind by the end of this year,
September, October time.
okay?
Which it's a go, right?
And that'll be a
Soon as
go, cause you feel like you can afford
Yeah.
it, yeah. But the other three, you've got like around 2 years.
Probably another 2 years past that, so 2.5 years.
Okay.
It seems to me it takes as long to build a building as it does to get the fire truck.
Right.
Okay, so-
And so
Is it longer?
you're just waiting on the
Yeah, probably
county
longer,
to
yeah.
say yay or nay for sure regarding the
And
paying for
if-
the trucks
And if they were to
and
say
building the
unequivocally no, we
station.
would just pull the plug on those things that we don't need. We'd do it sooner than later because we don't need to take up spots in the system and, because it does burden the manufacturer a little bit, holding spots.
Well, the one thing we can do, and someone mentioned, like, I'll see Joe Thomas, I mean, I golf his course all the time, we're friends, I'll talk to him about it, and just, if you guys see Bill Chalio or
So we,
Carl or Baxmeyer, if you ever have a conversation with them, ask them about that stuff, just let them know what, we're all in agreement how we feel, it's all on them. You know, we really don't need it, it's, you
Well,
need it.
What does it look like to you if they would say no? How much of a hardship? I mean, I know it would tax our current fire territory as far as you know, just because obviously you've got all this industrial area and things. So what would that look like? I feel like we have a well-oiled machine. You guys have done an incredible job of creating a really successful, well-run fire territory, and, I just worry, you know, sometimes you have that tipping point of where it just can sometimes get too large, or it ends up taxing people when it, you know, wasn't going to, and things like that. So
right.
what what's the scenario if you don't get that and things?
I think that's a bigger discussion because as we get busier,
Mhm.
because of those things, you know, how, do we go to that option 3? Do we look at consolidation?
Mhm.
And then we have to look at spending more money or bond issues and again, I don't wanna speculate because I think that it can be dangerous, but what I would say is that starts a different conversation because you can't say, okay, I have a fire alarm at Amazon and I'm covering it. I have nothing else going on, I'm out covering that. And then, you know, Bob falls and breaks his leg and we're out at Amazon. And that's happening 90% of the time. And we're relying on our neighbors. Well, our neighbors are gonna get tired of it. And they have the ability to charge us to do that. And we don't want that to happen. So we just, again, we have to keep meeting and keep it out in the open. I
And
don't,
in that aspect too, it's not just Amazon.
oh, right.
Hamilton Grove, we're at Millersbury Manor, it's everywhere.
And
It's
new
not-
subdivisions that are
Right.
probably gonna happen and things,
that
I
are
know.
again, our residents.
And I would say that that growth becomes slower. I think the limiting factor in our case is we don't have any place to put people. If we have the money to add people, I came to the board and said, hey, let's add people, we don't have a station, we can run them out of one of the other trucks, we'll run the other ambulance. We don't physically have spot, we could use this building, so maybe that looks like another renovation. I don't
Yeah.
know, because it's probably a cheaper option, building onto the station. I don't know those answers. You're right, we do have to be prepared for that piece, because if it's a reality, then, you know, but that growth would have to be slower, probably a little bit more painful growth, but.
I would think
Still
that at this point,
Yeah.
the county, with all they've done to promote all of this and out in front of everybody, they're really not gonna back off. I mean, that would be a major blow to them. So I think they're kind of, you know, what is it, in for a pound or whatever it is. But I think they will come through
Well,
with
I mean,
it, they
look
may
at the
drag
money
their
they're
feet.
investing in the town's infrastructure
Oh, yeah,
and the water tower they're putting up.
yeah.
How much was the water tower?
I don't know, I didn't hear what the bid openings were, but it's not gonna be cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
But
Yeah.
that's another one of those things that we overlook, cause it doesn't relate to fire. At some point, the town has to maintain that stuff. I mean, it's beautiful that they're doing it,
Sustainable.
but it's also, you know, burdening that piece, so
Yeah.
you know, we're all, you know, on whatever levels are gonna be affected, and it's how,
Yeah.
at this level, how we're gonna,
Where's that going? The new water tower?
we believe it's,
Fillmore.
Fillmore
And
Larison.
and
Larison,
Larison.
across from
R&L.
Arnell.
Well,
Yeah.
the proposed
Yeah.
fire station, it's okay.
Get it painted then, before you have to maintain it, get it painted, brand
Oh,
new.
can I give just a suggestion, that you already have a water tower, we were down in India, and I was like, that water tower is different than that water tower, and they all look very disjointed. So whatever
At the
thing you
same time.
come up with, carry it through, whatever the town logo or whatever that, put the clock on it, I don't care.
Make it work.
What's on the new one?
I think it just says New
Very
Carlisle.
generic, New Carlisle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sell advertisement on it.
Yeah, the trouble is, this fire tower's not in New Carlisle.
What's that?
Which
Put an
is,
LED board on it.
What's the address?
The
of New
address is-
Carlisle?
Yeah, would be,
Fillmore, Larison and Fillmore?
Yeah.
the town will own it.
Address,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought it was township.
I mean, it's,
And it,
it is township, but it's
Until they
not
annex
in
it.
town.
yeah, it's just like Hudson
You
Lake
got-
is, Hudson Lake is New Carlisle, right?
Well, I guess I would be surprised if the county doesn't come through with a station and at least some trucks. I mean, I have no idea.
It's,
I just feel like I'd be surprised if they don't. We just have to make sure we can show how it's gonna be sustained, how, that's, and so once we hear from the county, I would think that would lead the next step to
next
do
conversation.
some intense work with Baker Tilly and things and to figure out what's the best method, because you mentioned that there's two, I think you said maybe three options, but I'm not sure which is the third, so the other, you know, the first one is to take on another township or whatever to,
It's consolidation.
yeah,
Consolidation.
consolidation. And then that resets the levy, right? But then you mentioned, and I'm not sure exact, but a budget increase,
Yeah, you're talking your net AV as your, certified values go up, that 10.6% stays, it doesn't fluctuate like this, it stays here, so if that goes to, you know, $1 trillion, that doubles that cap where you can get money, you just have to be creative on how you get there. Cause you can do it, there are ways to do it.
And the third rate is the loan.
Yeah.
like the third way, just a
Well,
loan or fund.
The third way is, it kind of goes in tandem with the second way
Oh.
we just talked about, is, you know, growing your budget, so your budget's always at that level, so they do work in tandem. Option two, well, originally it's 1, 2, and 3, but it doesn't matter for this conversation. You can do one without the other, they just grow slower. But if you need to double the size of the department, 1.2 to 1.5 million dollars. That's a third of our current budget, so, and you have to have a cash, again, back into the weeds with it, but you have to have cash on hand to be able to do that, you know, so internally, you know, township has reserves, the town has reserves, I don't know if the other township has reserves, so you could theoretically get there. It's not clean, there's legal ways to do things, but I think the best way is to at Baker Tilly, tell us the best way to do it, instead of speculating.
Yeah.
And there might be a mix of it too, because we could reset the levy you know, a little bit if we needed to, so if we have, how many residents increase?
It's actually how much the certified net value, CNVA grows, as compared to the state, and that's what that last year we could have done, but we kind of missed the mark.
Right.
And that just grows the levy and gives us that room to say when it's time to grow, that we can grow. And that's probably, like I said, depending, Baker Tilly's gonna look at that again, I may be back to this board and say, hey, we need to grow our max levy. I'm not asking to grow our budget, I'm just asking to grow our levy.
Which Baker Tilly did recommend that we do. They brought it to us and said, hey, you should do this. But there was, something in there that they didn't realize we had to get.
The law changed on how you do it, and we missed, cause the law used to be the, provider you could do it. The new law says that I have to ask Hudson Township individually, the town individually, and then Alva Township individually before they can do it, which again, is the right way to do it. You wanna make sure that everybody's informed and one entity's not running over the other two.
Excellent.
Okay, anything else on this subject? Well, that was a good talk. I think maybe we'll
Great
circle back
conversation.
to it 6 months or whenever on occasion.
Hopefully sooner than that.
Hopefully sooner, hopefully
3
we
months.
can start getting some
Hopefully next
tangible
week.
things to bring to you to say, we need to make decisions.
I think
Yeah.
we'll be interested in it every meeting when
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, it's a big deal. So, old business? Anybody got any ideas? I had one thing here. You know, you talked earlier about a rating system, and somebody asked me about it, and I couldn't hardly explain it to them. I know, Justin, because you've had so much training you've been doing with people, we lowered it, right? Isn't that what you wanna do?
Oh, we're hoping.
So, what is it now, our rating system?
4,
We're a 4, and what do we think we could get
we're
to?
hoping to get to a 2.
We're hoping to get a 2, and when we know that.
We do, so we, last Friday, or another Friday before, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
We went down to Plainfield and attended a conference that's put on by Verisys, does the ISO piece, to make sure that we're hitting the metrics we need to hit to get that number where we get it. We actually learned a bunch of stuff. And by pure coincidence, the person that's gonna be grading us, was taking the class as well as part of this process to get cleared to grade us. And he was like, oh, you guys are on my list, and I was like, awesome.
Hey, let's go out to dinner.
But-
Well, or the ISO too, if you bring this other guy on board, that.
Oh, yes, we get points for
That's a
him.
big deal.
Oh, it's fire marshal,
Yeah.
yeah.
For having a fire
Yeah,
marshal.
but then
We're having a building inspector.
with the training, like the town didn't know flows and pressures and stuff through the hydrants and now, because we went out and did it, we have that information, so that'll help us.
Yeah, okay, so let's say we get to 2, and let's just say we do that, what does that mean? Do people have to then call their insurance company and say, hey, we're a 2, or
So,
what happens?
70 to 80% of the insurance companies use ISO for your home insurance. Not all of them do, but 70 to 80% do. And, on your insurance bill, it should actually, they said, it should say on it what you are.
Really?
Yes. I've not been able to find it, but that's what they told us.
Mhm.
But what that means is that your premiums should get some relief based on how we perform as a department.
Okay.
What's the range of this? You know,
They don't put a monetary value on it.
no, I'm sorry.
The scores,
No, the coverage, is it for the whole fire territory?
No,
It is.
well, yeah, but ours out by us is higher. Hudson's
Yeah.
Well, there's no
So-
hydrants.
Yeah,
Right,
so that's,
hydrants.
Oh, the rating is different
We have something for that.
Olive
Huh?
and,
We have something for that now. We have a
You do?
tool. So they allow us to do a water shuttle or a water supply shuttle to prove that we can provide enough water to to, give you that extra credit.
Really?
Is that part of?
What
the
we're
push
working
here?
on, yeah,
Awesome.
what we're working on, Justin.
Yeah, I think this would be good information to have, so when people ask you about, how much is that new fire station gonna cost me, you know, the taxpayer, you say, hey, the good news is that the ISO rating is now such and such for.
I wish they
Hudson Lake.
could quantify the actual
And
savings. to people.
go ask your insurance company.
Right.
So I mean, it really deflects the
I never
conversation.
said I
It
could tell.
is a deflector, but that's fair.
Well, I know the last time I asked, we were at Hudson, it was at 9.
At a 9?
See, so that is an old scale that doesn't even exist anymore, so your insurance company, or whoever you asked,
Car.
is,
I talked to Car.
you're a 4X, and actually, it really just indicates that you don't have a sustainable water supply.
I have a lake right next
Yeah,
to
it's
me.
Yeah, it's really weird what they let us count and don't count.
Is the rating like 1 to 10?
Yeah, 1 is the absolute best, and 10 is uninsurable.
That's like a little bit
And
Hawaii on the
so-
volcano.
Like all of us should check our
Yeah, it helps your
insurance
rates.
to make sure that.
Well, let's wait till
that's
we see
correct.
where we're gonna get, and then we
Yeah.
got something.
You can ask them, it doesn't hurt to ask them.
You
You can make sure that your insurance
It
company.
is very well in 26 before.
You know, and then residential rate.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. So
By
it
the
might
time
take
we
several
get
years.
lives, they come out and they do it,
Oh,
and then
okay,
after they
okay.
do it,
Well, please
it's
check the rates.
a process for them to validate everything before they release the data.
But if it does say on insurance, it should for, anyway, the town New Colossus should say 4. For Hudson Lake, it should say what?
Probably don't appreciate
4X.
Yeah, you might look at your definition.
4X?
Yes.
How about Olive
Do
Township?
ask them, let them know.
Well, it depends, because some places in Olive Township are a 4 because of the hydrant in the
Okay.
county.
And with the
You have to be
addition of
1,000.
the hydrants, that would be a good thing
Yeah.
for people to check.
Yeah.
Like you won't be a
Is that what the
3 in
source?
one place or a 5 in another, you'll
We
be a
gotta
4.
go- we gotta go
First, they
for it.
gotta find money,
Four.
it's not coming from us.
Okay.
We have,
Alright.
and not to.
Yeah, but we won't have,
keep
we won't have.
beating the can up, but we've had insurance company, or
Not loud.
residents call us and say, we're 9, well, that's, I don't know how you got there, but we have the data, we know, so they need to get a hold of Verisec to verify it. It's nothing that we can do, all we can do is make sure that where we need to be, but, yeah,
You said it, what is our fire rating here in town?
4.
Okay.
We're 4 times that.
You're 4X now. And my other question is, how come Bob got a broken leg in your scenario and I got a heart attack?
Because I was the one choosing for Bob.
Okay, alright.
We haven't flown to pick with Chad.
Thanks, little buddy. Moving on, any other old business? None? Okay, how about new business?
You guys can't be out.
Well, this isn't really business, but I wanna just let everybody know that, this past week we did some work with the cemetery records out at Olive Chapel.
Okay.
And in the course of doing that, there were several stories that came up that related on how the people down there, as well as in town here, as well as in Hudson Lake, have always, interacted.
Mhm.
I heard that, when I first moved to town here, when we went to the basketball game, there was 3 crowds there. There was the away team, the Hudson Lake, the New Carlisle side of the gym, and the Early Prairie side of the gym.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that Hudson Lake people could go to either school if they
Yeah.
chose. Oh, I mean, and apparently that's been going on for 150 years. So, reflecting on this fire territory, it just seems like a natural extension of.
We are one community.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob. That's
We've
what I
been
was trying to
saying
say.
that for a long time.
Yeah.
Starting with the ambulance service coming out of, the volunteers, I've heard all those stories this last couple of years now that.
That's really why we protecting our communities, because we're not just one, and we've never felt like, I've never felt like, and again, I'm a little bit of a transplant, I feel I've been here for a while now,
It's never been any different, it's like cousins,
but,
you
yeah.
know? It's always been that way.
And so it's.
Except the Hudson Lake boys were always a little meaner, it seems like.
Probably got a little more trouble.
Yeah.
We had to survive.
I was told when I moved out here, don't tell anybody you live in Hudson Lake, I'm like, okay.
So I just,
Yeah.
it just seemed like it was, and I know.
It's true.
It was,
We've evolved,
Cultural.
we've evolved,
Well,
we're still,
okay,
we're
so
still one.
last Christmas we did the wreaths, for
Oh, yeah.
Hudson Lake Cemetery, as
Right.
well as, is that the only cemetery, the one there by the?
No, well, Yeah, that's the one that we got.
Well, there's people burying people.
Just
Just
now
yard.
the cemetery.
We got some out,
We got some mass graves.
Cemetery, didn't we, this year? Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and so that, so we have a veterans list now for that, for Olive Chapel Cemetery.
Oh, nice.
All right, anything else for the good of the cause here?
All right.
So next meeting's in 1 month, what,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. if not-
A second?
it's moved and seconded, did you get that?
Austin and Dave.
Thank you guys.
Bob got that.
Thanks for.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, everybody, good meeting.